sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that's always been a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah.
UFOs.
UFOs, right.
But the really interesting thing is that the conversation around this is changing even among scientists.
It really is. And what's really fascinating is that we're starting to see like credible evidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not just grainy photos and
Right.
and questionable sightings anymore. We're seeing multiple sources confirming the same event. So like radar readings matching up with pilot accounts, infrared cameras capturing, well, the naked eye can't see that kind of thing.
Yeah, you're telling me. I mean, it's getting harder and harder to just dismiss these sightings as someone's imagination.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it a lot harder.
And to really see how much things have changed, we're going to be taking a deep dive into an interview with physicist Michio Kaku on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Oh, wow.
Now, for those who don't know, Michio Kaku is a big name in theoretical physics. He's the kind of guy who can make even the most complex ideas sound almost understandable.
Right.
And even he's acknowledging that something big is happening.
Yeah, and what I think is really interesting is that he actually points to a 2017 New York Times article as a sort of tipping point.
Okay.
You know, it was a sign that mainstream media was starting to take this UFO phenomenon seriously.
Right.
And it opened the door for more serious discussion.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it gave permission.
Yeah, and when you have these respected figures like Commander David Fravor,
Right.
Navy pilot, coming forward with these detailed accounts of these unexplainable aerial events,
Yeah.
it's hard to just ignore.
Yeah, it really does feel like the burden of proof has shifted.
Yeah.
You know, before it was on the believers to prove that UFOs existed, but now
Right.
it almost feels like it's on the Pentagon to explain these objects and these movements that just seem to break the laws of physics.
It's true. It's a huge change. It begs the question, though.
Yeah.
What kind of evidence would satisfy those who are still skeptical? Are we waiting for like a UFO to land on the White House lawn?
Right. Or
Like, is there a certain threshold of data that needs to be crossed before we accept the possibility of something truly extraordinary?
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's not like there aren't theories trying to explain these sightings.
Sure.
One that pops up a lot is this idea of advanced drones, especially those flying at hypersonic speeds.
Right. So before we go any further, let's just make sure we're all on the same page about this.
Okay.
Hypersonic means Mach 5 or faster.
Wow.
5 times the speed of sound.
It's insanely fast.
Insanely fast. And we know that this technology exists.
Right.
Russia's using hypersonic missiles right now in warfare.
Right.
So the question becomes, could this explain some of the UFO sightings?
Right. But didn't the U.S. scrap its own hypersonic drone program like back in 2023?
Yeah.
Something about being too unstable to control.
Exactly. They had a lot of trouble keeping these things stable at those speeds, which makes you wonder, if we're struggling with that technology, how are these UFOs pulling off these crazy maneuvers?
Right.
Some of which have been reported for decades.
Yeah.
It doesn't add up.
Yeah, and that's not even mentioning like the lack of sonic booms.
Right.
And exhaust trails. I mean,
Exactly.
if something's zipping around that fast, I mean, basic physics tells us that those should be there, right?
It's one of the biggest puzzles.
Yeah.
Imagine like a jet fighter breaking the sound barrier. You hear that deafening boom.
Oh, yeah.
But with a lot of these UFO sightings, there's no boom and no visible means of propulsion, no exhaust flames or anything.
Yeah.
They seem to just defy everything we know about how things should fly.
Right. So let's bring Michio Kaku back into this.
Okay.
You mentioned that he was initially skeptical about all this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's even said that talking about UFOs can be like career suicide for a scientist.
Really?
It's this taboo subject that nobody wants to touch. But what changed his mind was the evidence presented in a documentary called A Tear in the Sky.
Okay.
It followed what he calls the gold standard, prolonged observation using multiple methods, corroborated by data from reputable sources.
So what was it about this gold standard that was so convincing? What made it different from all the other UFO evidence out there?
Yeah, it comes down to the quality and quantity of the data. Imagine you're a detective trying to solve a case. One eyewitness might not be enough to convince you.
Right.
But what if you have 5 witnesses all telling the same story with physical evidence to back it up.
Right.
That's what A Tear in the Sky presented.
Okay.
It was a compelling case built on solid evidence.
So it's like the difference between a hunch and a full-blown investigation.
Exactly.
And speaking of investigations, Kaku also addresses that age-old argument against extraterrestrial life, the vast distances involved in interstellar travel.
Right.
How can anything possibly travel that far right?
Right. And his response to that is really thought-provoking. He compares it to someone from centuries ago claiming it's impossible to travel to another continent because it would take months on horseback.
Right.
You know, their frame of reference was limited to their technology at the time.
Right.
We might be making that same mistake when we assume interstellar travel is impossible based on our current understanding.
It's like we're stuck in this horse and buggy mindset
Exactly.
when we need like a spaceship perspective.
Yeah.
So if we even just entertain the possibility that some of these UFOs are extraterrestrial,
Right.
it kind of opens up this whole can of worms.
It does.
Like, why are they here?
Yeah.
What are their intentions?
Right.
I know it's speculation, but it's hard not to wonder.
Absolutely. And it's natural to look for answers based on our own history and behavior, you know.
All right.
Are they explorers like those early European explorers encountering new lands and cultures?
Right.
Are they scientists studying us from afar?
Right.
Or are they something else entirely with motivations that we can't even begin to comprehend?
It's both fascinating and a bit unnerving, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, if we're being honest, history doesn't always paint the most optimistic picture of what happens when different civilizations meet.
True. We have a tendency to project our own fears and desires onto the unknown. But I think it's important to remember we're not talking about another human tribe here.
Right.
If we're dealing with a civilization capable of interstellar travel, they've likely surpassed us in ways we can't even fathom.
Right.
Their motives might be entirely different from anything we can imagine.
It's a good reality check. Yeah. We might be approaching this with a totally outdated playbook.
Right? So where does all this leave us?
Well-
Are we just supposed to sit here and speculate while these things are potentially zipping around in our skies?
Well, speculation is a good starting point,
Okay.
but it's not the end goal. What's really exciting is that we're moving beyond mere speculation
Yeah.
and into the realm of scientific inquiry. More and more researchers are starting to take this seriously,
Okay.
developing new ways to observe and analyze these phenomena. We're finally starting to ask the right questions.
That feels like a huge step forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Instead of dismissing it all as nonsense, we're finally applying the tools of science to try and understand it.
But all this talk of advanced civilizations and interstellar travel,
Right.
I mean, it can get pretty mind-bending, even for someone who follows this topic closely, like myself.
Sure.
What about those who are hearing about this for the first time?
Right.
Like, where do they even begin to wrap their heads around it all?
I think the key is to focus on the core concepts. Michio Kaku often talks about Planck energy and the Kardashev scale,
Okay.
which might sound intimidating at first,
Yeah, a little bit.
but they're actually pretty straightforward once you break them down.
Okay.
Think of Planck energy as this ultimate energy barrier. It's like the point where our current understanding of physics hits a wall.
Oh, okay.
Some even theorize that manipulating Planck energy could allow for bending space and time,
Whoa.
like something straight out of science fiction.
Okay, so Planck energy is like this ultimate power source.
Right.
The stuff that could potentially fuel interstellar travel or even stranger things.
Exactly.
Okay, and what about the Kardashev scale? How does that fit in?
The Kardashev scale is a way to categorize civilizations based on how much energy they can harness.
Okay.
A Type 1 civilization can control all the energy of its home planet,
Okay.
like harnessing volcanoes, weather patterns, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Type 2 takes it a step further. They've figured out how to capture the energy of their star,
Wow.
like a giant solar panel on a cosmic scale.
So type 3, I'm guessing that's where things get really wild.
Exactly.
Okay.
Type 3 is galactic level.
Wow.
They control the energy of an entire galaxy.
That's crazy.
Imagine the kind of technology and power that would require.
Yeah.
Michio Kaku, with his work in string theory, believes any civilization messing around with Planck energy would have to be at least a Type 2, maybe even Type 3.
Okay.
They'd have the capability to bend space and time, making interstellar travel a breeze.
So we're saying there's a chance that some of these UFOs
Yeah.
could be from civilizations that are so advanced.
Just a possibility.
They're practically godlike compared to us.
It's a mind-blowing one. But when you think about the age of the universe,
Right.
billions of years, a few thousand years of technological advancement for another civilization
Yeah.
is a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
It's entirely plausible that there are civilizations out there that are millions, maybe even billions of years ahead of us.
It's enough to make you feel both incredibly small and incredibly excited at the same time.
I know.
Small because we're this tiny blip on the cosmic radar, but excited because who knows what kind of knowledge and discoveries are out there waiting to be found.
Exactly. And this brings us back to the importance of keeping an open mind and embracing scientific inquiry.
Yeah.
We can't let fear or preconceived notions hold us back from exploring these possibilities.
It's like we're at the edge of a new frontier, and the most important tool we have is our curiosity.
Exactly. But with all this talk of advanced civilizations and potential contact,
Yeah.
it's hard not to wonder about the implications for us here on Earth.
Right. What does this all mean for humanity?
That's the big question, isn't it? And unfortunately, one with no easy answers. It forces us to confront some pretty profound questions about our place in the universe, the nature of reality, and the very definition of what it means to be human.
It's almost too much to process.
I know, right?
But I think that's why we're both so drawn to this topic.
It is.
It's that sense of wonder, that thirst for knowledge that keeps us digging deeper, trying to understand the seemingly impossible.
Exactly. And it's not like we're the only ones grappling with these questions. I mean, think about all the science fiction stories, the movies, the books.
Oh, yeah.
Humanity has been fascinated by the idea of extraterrestrial life for centuries.
Right.
It clearly resonates deeply within us.
It taps into that primal desire to understand our place in this vastness of existence.
It does.
Are we alone? Or are we part of something much bigger, something beyond our wildest dreams?
Right. It's a question that's been asked by philosophers, scientists, artists for as long as we've been able to look up at the stars and wonder.
And now with these increasingly credible UFO sightings and scientific figures like Michio Kaku openly discussing these possibilities, it feels like we're moving from the realm of fiction into the realm of, well, maybe not quite fact, but certainly a much more serious and credible area of inquiry.
Precisely. We're at a point where we can't just dismiss this as fringe science or conspiracy theories anymore.
Right.
The evidence is demanding our attention, and the implications are too profound to ignore.
So where do we go from here?
Well,
What's the next step in this journey of discovery?
I think continued research and open-minded investigation are key.
Okay.
We need to develop new technologies and methods for observing and analyzing these phenomena.
Right.
We need to encourage open dialogue and collaboration between scientists, researchers, and even government agencies.
Yeah.
And perhaps most importantly, we need to be prepared for the unexpected.
That's a great point. We might think we know what we're looking for, but the reality of extraterrestrial life, if it exists, could be so far beyond our comprehension that we wouldn't even recognize it.
Exactly. It's like trying to explain the internet to someone living in the Middle Ages.
Right.
They simply wouldn't have the framework to understand it.
They wouldn't even.
We might be approaching this whole UFO phenomenon with a similarly limited perspective.
It's like that saying, if you see hoof prints, think horses, not zebras.
Right.
But what if we're dealing with something entirely new? Something that doesn't even have hoof prints. We need to be open to that possibility.
Absolutely. We need to be prepared to rewrite the textbooks, to challenge our assumptions about the nature of reality itself.
It's both exciting and a little bit daunting, isn't it?
It is.
And I think that's the takeaway for you, the listener.
Yeah.
We're living in a time of incredible discovery where the boundaries of what we thought we knew are being pushed further than ever before. And this isn't just about UFOs.
Right.
This is about expanding our understanding of the universe and our place within it.
Exactly.
It's about embracing the unknown and being open to possibilities we might not have even imagined before.
And who knows? Maybe the answers to some of our biggest questions. The origin of life, the nature of consciousness, the existence of other intelligent beings. Are out there waiting to be discovered. Maybe they're closer than we think.
That's a pretty amazing thought. It's like, for the first time in human history, we're truly starting to grasp just how vast and mysterious the universe really is.
It is.
And that's both humbling and inspiring.
It is. It reminds us that there's so much more to learn, so much more to explore, and it underscores the importance of curiosity, critical thinking, and a willingness to challenge our own preconceived notions.
So what can you, the listener, do?
Wow.
I think the most important thing is to stay curious, keep asking questions, keep exploring, keep an open mind. Maybe you'll be the one to make the next groundbreaking discovery, or maybe you'll simply find a renewed sense of wonder and awe in the world around you.
Right.
Either way, it's a journey worth taking.
It is. And remember, this conversation is just beginning.
That's right. We're only getting started.
We're at the tip of the iceberg when it comes to understanding the true nature of reality. The future is full of possibilities, and I, for one, can't wait to see what mysteries we uncover next.
Yeah, me too. And with that, we're going to wrap up part 1 of this deep dive. Be sure to come back for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into the mind-blowing world of UFOs and the search for extraterrestrial life.
See you there. Yeah, it really makes you think, like, are we limiting ourselves by thinking about it in terms of our current technology?
Right. It's like we're trying to solve like a 21st century problem using like a 16th century mindset.
Exactly. And we can just for a moment consider the possibility that some of these UFOs are actually extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
It opens up so many questions.
It really does.
Like, why are they here? What are they doing?
What are their intentions? Are they friendly?
Exactly.
Are they hostile? Are they just curious?
Right. It's all speculation at this point, but it's hard not to let your imagination run wild.
Yeah. I mean, and it's natural to kind of fall back on our own history and behavior when we try to think about this. Like, are they explorers, like those early European explorers, landing on new continents and encountering new cultures?
Right. Or are they scientists just observing us from a distance?
Right. Or are they something completely different?
Exactly. Something with motivations that we can't even begin to fathom.
Yeah. And, it's fascinating, but it's also a little bit scary.
It is.
I mean, if we look at human history,
Right.
it doesn't always paint the most optimistic picture of what happens when different civilizations meet.
That's true. We do have a tendency to project our own fears and desires onto the unknown. But I think it's important to remember that we're not talking about another human tribe here.
Right.
If we're dealing with a civilization that's capable of interstellar travel, they've probably evolved beyond things like greed and violence.
Right. They've transcended our primal instincts.
Exactly. Their motives might be something that we can't even comprehend.
Right. It's a good reminder that we might be approaching this with a totally outdated playbook.
Yeah, we might be bringing a knife to a gunfight, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. So where does this all leave us then? Are we just supposed to sit here and speculate while these things are potentially flying around in our skies?
Well, speculation is definitely part of the process.
Okay.
But it's not the end goal.
Well,
What's exciting is that we're moving beyond just speculation and into the realm of scientific inquiry.
right.
More and more researchers are starting to take this seriously.
Good.
They're developing new ways to observe and analyze these phenomena.
Yeah.
We're finally asking the right questions.
Yeah, it feels like a huge step forward. Like, instead of just dismissing it all as crazy talk, we're actually using science to try and understand it.
Exactly.
But I have to admit, all this talk about advanced civilizations and interstellar travel, it can get pretty mind-bending, even for someone like me who follows this topic pretty closely.
Yeah.
So for people who are just hearing about this for the first time, where do they even begin?
I think the key is to focus on the core concepts. Michio Kaku often talks about Planck energy and the Kardashev scale.
Okay, those are some pretty big concepts.
They are, but they're actually pretty straightforward once you break them down.
Yeah, okay. So let's try to break them down.
Okay, think of Planck energy as the ultimate energy barrier.
Okay.
It's the point where our current understanding of physics just stops working.
Okay.
Some physicists even theorize that if you could manipulate Planck energy, you could bend space and time.
Oh.
It's like something straight out of Star Trek.
Okay, so Planck energy is like the ultimate power source.
Yeah, you could say that.
The thing that could potentially power interstellar travel or even crazier stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about the Kardashev scale? Where does that come in?
The Kardashev scale is a way to categorize civilizations based on how much energy they can use.
Okay.
So a Type 1 civilization can control all the energy on its home planet.
Okay, so like harnessing volcanoes and the weather and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Wow.
Type 2 civilization takes it a step further. They've figured out how to use all the energy from their star.
Wow, so like a giant solar panel around their sun?
Yeah.
Okay, and Type 3, I'm assuming this is where things get really wild.
Type 3 is galactic level.
Right.
They can control the energy of an entire galaxy.
That's insane.
Imagine the kind of technology and power that would take.
Yeah, that's beyond our comprehension.
It is. And Michio Kaku, with his work in string theory, believes that any civilization that's messing around with Planck energy would have to be at least a Type 2, maybe even a Type 3 civilization.
Okay, so hold on a second.
Yeah.
Are we saying there's a chance that some of these UFOs we're seeing could be from civilizations that are so advanced that they're basically gods compared to us?
It's a possibility. It's a mind-blowing possibility. But when you consider the age of the universe, billions of years,
Right.
a few thousand years of technological advancement for another civilization is nothing.
It's like a blink of an eye.
Exactly. So it's entirely plausible that there are civilizations out there that are millions or even billions of years ahead of us technologically.
It's enough to make you feel incredibly small and incredibly excited at the same time.
I know, right?
Small because we're just this tiny blip on the cosmic radar, but excited because who knows what kind of knowledge and discoveries are out there.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the importance of keeping an open mind and embracing scientific inquiry.
Right.
We can't let fear or preconceived notions hold us back from exploring these possibilities.
It's like we're standing on the edge of a new frontier, and the most important tool we have is our curiosity.
Exactly. But with all this talk of advanced civilizations and potential contact,
Yeah.
it's hard not to wonder what the implications are for us here on Earth.
Right. What does all this mean for humanity?
That's the big question, isn't it? And unfortunately, there's no easy answer.
Yeah.
It forces us to confront some pretty profound questions about our place in the universe, the nature of reality, and the very definition of what it means to be human.
It's almost too much to think about.
I know.
But I think that's why we're both so drawn to this topic. It's that sense of wonder and that desire for knowledge that keeps us digging deeper, trying to understand the seemingly impossible.
I agree. Yeah, it's like that yearning to figure out where we fit in, in this grand scheme of things.
Are we all alone out here, or are we part of something much bigger and more amazing than we can even imagine?
Right. It's a question that people have been asking forever, like philosophers and scientists and artists.
Yeah, for as long as we've been able to look up at the stars and wonder.
Exactly.
And I think what's so interesting is that with all these UFO sightings becoming more and more credible,
Yeah.
and you've got people like Michio Kaku, these big-name scientists,
Right.
talking about it seriously, it feels like we're moving past just like the fiction
Totally.
and into something a lot more real, a lot more credible.
Yeah, it's not just like fringe science or conspiracy theories anymore.
Right, exactly. We're at a
Yeah.
point where the evidence is just too compelling to ignore.
It really is.
So where do we go from here? What's the next step in all of this?
Well, I think the key is to keep researching and investigating with an open mind.
Okay.
We need to develop new technologies and new ways of looking at these phenomena. We need to get scientists and researchers and even government agencies talking to each other and working together.
Right.
And maybe most importantly, we need to be ready for anything.
That's a great point, because we might think we know what we're looking for,
Right.
but the reality is that extraterrestrial life, if it exists, could be so different from what we expect.
Exactly. It's like we might not even recognize it.
Yeah.
It's like if you tried to explain the internet to someone living 500 years ago,
Right?
their minds would be blown. They wouldn't even have the framework to understand it.
They wouldn't even.
And it's possible that we're looking at this whole UFO thing with the same kind of limited perspective.
It's like that saying, if you see hoof prints, think horses, not zebras.
Right.
But what if we're dealing with something that doesn't even have hoof prints?
Exactly. We need to be open to that possibility.
Absolutely. We need to be willing to throw out the old textbooks and rethink everything we thought we knew about the universe.
It's exciting and a little bit scary all at the same time.
It really is. And I think that's a perfect takeaway for our listeners.
Yeah.
We're living in this incredible time of discovery,
Right.
where the boundaries of what we thought was possible are being pushed further and further. And this isn't just about UFOs. It's about our understanding of the universe and our place in it.
Exactly.
It's about being open to the unknown and to all these possibilities that we haven't even imagined yet.
And who knows? Maybe the answers to some of our biggest questions are out there just waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, things like, how did life begin? What is consciousness? Are we alone in the universe?
Right. Maybe those answers are closer than we think.
That's a really amazing thought to consider. And I think what's so humbling and inspiring is that for the first time in human history, we're really starting to understand just how vast and mysterious the universe really is.
It's true, and it reminds us that we still have so much to learn, so much to explore.
Yeah.
And it highlights how important it is to be curious, to think critically, and to always be willing to question what we think we know.
So what can our listeners do?
I think the most important thing is to stay curious. Keep
Okay.
asking questions, keep exploring, and keep an open mind. You never know. You might be the one to make the next big discovery.
Or maybe you'll just rediscover that sense of wonder and awe about the world around you.
Exactly. Either way, it's a journey worth taking.
It really is. And remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation.
It is.
We're really just scratching the surface when it comes to understanding the true nature of reality.
We are. And the future is full of possibilities. I can't wait to see what mysteries we uncover next.
Me neither. And that's it for this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed exploring the world of UFOs and the search for extraterrestrial life with us.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time, keep those minds open and keep looking up.